Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Recently, CVLIFE has sent me a red dot, the WolfCovert Multi-Reticle red-green dot sight. This is the CVLIFE WolfCovert Multi-Reticle green-red dot. And I think when it comes to the green dot, I think they're talking about the fiber optics it has back here, and it's actually a green reticle that I've received. So let's get into it a little bit. We're going to talk about it, and I want to kind of go into detail about what it includes. So in the package, we have this nice packaging, nothing too fancy. You know, they're not charging you extra for nice, real expensive packaging. It's just right for, you know, getting your dot here safe and just big enough to include the proper amount of accessories with the dot. So that's cool enough for me. I think that's pretty neat. It does come with, of course, your dot here, and it's a nice made, well made, looks fairly durable red dot, green dot. As you can see, the controls are nice and large. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So it includes that. It also includes your rubber cover, protective cover for your lens. It includes an RMR plate. This is a doctor footprint plate, but this will allow you to adapt to all the RMR cuts out there. That makes it very versatile. I don't know if it'll mount to every RMR cut based off how tight, you know, it's in the gun, but I would say 98% of them it probably will work. And so that's really cool. So that adds a lot of versatility. So I would say right out of the box, I would recommend this mostly if you have a doctor footprint plate already or mount already set up on your whatever piece you're putting this on. I would recommend it more for that than adding the second plate, but this just adds versatility so that you can use this dot on multiple platforms, which is really cool. It also comes with the Picatinny mount straight to the Optic itself. That's really cool. Adds a lot of versatility there. It comes with two batteries. I have a battery here, but one's already in it. It comes with something to mount the screws, a tool to mount the screws, and a tool to adjust elevation and windage. And it comes with a lot of variety of screws. I'm not going to go into all the screws it includes, but that kind of covers. It does come with also a cleaning fabric, but that covers pretty much everything that the dot does come with. So let's get into it a little bit and tell you what I think about it. I was able to use this dot, so we'll show that later in a later clip, and we'll talk about that some more. But the dot is very crisp, and the reticle is very crisp in this dot. I really do enjoy, you know, how crisp the dot is. I think it's really nice. It has the multi-reticle, so it has the circle dot, and just the dot. So it's really nice. The glass is very crisp and clear, and I have plenty of other optics I can compare this to later in later videos, but right now we just want to say that this is slightly larger glass, which is something I think I should note. This is slightly larger glass or a window size than your average mid-size dots. Slightly larger, which is actually cool. I was kind of surprised to see that it was slightly larger than the medium-sized dots that go on most RMR footprint adapted guns or weapons or whatever, airsoft, whatever you want to use this for. So the fact that the glass was larger definitely makes it a better value in my opinion. The reticles, all the reticles on here are very crisp. The controls are very intuitive, very simple. I like the look of the dot. Maybe, you know, we'll get into some pros and cons on it, but right now I just think, you know, overall it looks kind of like a mid-tier durability design. So I would say this is in between a concealed carry and a duty type optic as far as durability. I wouldn't quite say that it's duty ready for like police officers and things like that, but I would say it's just right behind those optics in the sense of kind of its build quality. It's very nice put together, and we'll kind of show you some things in a minute that I think a lot of dots wouldn't be able to do or be able to handle. And we'll kind of, I'm not going to torture test it, but I'll kind of show you it is a durable optic, and we'll show you that in a minute. But yeah, I really like the looks of it. I do like the way the housing was designed. I think that's pretty cool, and the elevation and the windage are actually adjustable with clicks, which is cool because most cheaper dots or Chinese dots, a lot of them do not have clicking adjustments, and this one does. I was pretty happy to see that. They might not be quite as, you know, audible as some of the other more expensive dots, but they are still nice and easy to adjust with that nice audible sound. So the controls are nice and large enough to use. I do like that. I like having one adjustment over here and one over here. It just seems like it's easier to know you're hitting the right button without thinking about it. So I do like that as well. But the glass is not very colored like some of the other dots that you see out there. So I do kind of like how clear the glass is. It looks like it is fairly crisp in the sense of how it projects the image. You know, some you look through the glass and it looks like it's skewing the image from the way it looks around the dot, but in the image, in the dot itself, or in the glass itself, it looks kind of skewed. Well, this one looks very clear. You know, there's some slight distortion, I guess, but you know, every dot's going to have a little bit of distortion, but this one is actually very good for the most part. There's no like real magnification or distortion through the glass, so that's nice. Very clear reticle and glass. So I really do like that, guys. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything I haven't covered. We did try this on 2 different pieces to make sure it works, and it ran flawlessly. I found it very easy to sight in. It was no issue at all. It took me a few seconds to get it sighted in good enough to review it, and so I was able to do that, and you will see that in a footage and a clip later on in the video. But yeah, this may go in a clip by itself on Amazon, so kind of wanted to show you guys what this was about. I really do like it. I think for the price, I think there's some coupon codes you can get on this Optic, which is nice. And so for the price and for what it is, especially if you have a doctor foot printed mount already ready to go, I think that's what I would suggest this to be used for. But it can go on, you know, airsoft gun, a rifle, a pistol. I think it's durable. It's rated at high G-force capability, so it's ready to go on pretty much any platform, which is really cool. And so I'm pretty happy with it. The few little negative gripes, I guess I would say, is, for me personally, I guess it's just a preference thing, but like I said, I recommend this for doctor foot printed cuts on platforms. But I'm kind of an RMR footprint. They do offer, CVLIFE does offer plenty of RMR footprint dots, so that's not a complaint from the company, but I prefer the RMR cut, and that is, you know, for me, it's slightly negative, but for what this is, if you have the doctor, it's going to work great for you guys. I guess if I could say personal preference, if CVLIFE would just remove this right here, I don't think the specs have to be advertised on the dots, especially for the American market. The logo, if I had to do it different, if I was them, I would probably just put the C logo, maybe the C and the V, and just keep it kind of discreet and small, and maybe have like WolfCovert really small inside or something like that. But just keep it real simple. I mean, that's my preference. Some people may like it the way it is. This side is really discreet, and I really do like that. So I kind of wish, you know, from my opinion, that they would have kept that a little simpler. But it is pretty simple, and I'm glad they didn't do more than what they did. So I really do overall like the look and the design. Also, this may be a pro and con for you. I'm not sure, based off what you like. The fiber optics as backup sights. Personally, I like just blacked out backup sights because you don't want nothing drawing your eye to this instead of the reticle inside the glass. When you got a red dot mounted to your gun, you really want to pay attention to the reticle, and that you want the reticle to more catch your eye, or you to be able to see the reticle and nothing else to kind of stick out to you. So I kind of prefer those to be blacked out, but some people may like this as backup. So it's a pro or a con based off how you look at it. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this design, the way it works. And let's show you a little bit of something here. This is kind of just something I decided to do last minute. But some optics cannot handle, especially the Chinese optics, some of them don't handle durability too well. So I'm going to take this rubber mallet. This is actually a pretty heavy mallet, and I will hit the dot pretty hard, and we'll look at the glass is perfect. So a cheaper optic that's made very poorly would not be able to handle that. I would say that was a pretty good bit of force applied to that. It was actually bouncing my pretty sturdy desktop over here. It was vibrating the whole desk. So I was hitting that pretty hard on the top, and that would simulate, say, a drop into maybe onto wood from, you know, waist high or something like that. I think that would pretty much simulate that without scratching the dot up. I don't get many things on the channel, so I don't want to sit here and try to damage the dot. So I think that was pretty cool to show you right here live that it's able to take a pretty good blow without being damaged. And I do like that. And I told you, I think this is somewhere in between a carry optic that you could carry on your carry gun and a duty optic. It's not quite duty rated. I wouldn't want to drop this from shoulder high onto concrete. I don't think it would hold up to that. But for standard, you know, waist high drops on the normal types of ground and floors and stuff like that, I think it would hold up just fine. So that's pretty cool. I hope you liked the video. We'll have more clips with this in my main big video. But God bless, have a great day, and I hope this answers some of the questions you have about this dot. It's a very nice dot. It was easy to set up, you know, it was fun to play with, fun to use, and I will be using this and doing more on this in the future. God bless, have a great day. Alright guys, I wanted to show you kind of from the brightest setting down to the dimmest setting what this reticle looks like. And as you can see, it's really, really bright. This is the brightest setting. So let's go kind of one at a time and look at these different settings. There's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. You can barely see it. Those last 3 settings are so dark you can barely see them. But the reticle gets extremely bright and it gets extremely dim for like night vision and stuff like that. So plenty of settings here. Let's go back up in brightness here, and I'm also going to show you, that's the multiple reticle. So the circle, the dot, the crosshairs, it kind of gives you all of them together. But let's show you the different reticles as well. If you hold down this button, you get just the dot, so you can see it's nice and crisp. And also you get the circle only. So those are your 3 options. We showed you all the brightness levels. Let's go all the way back up to the brightest setting. As you can see, it's kind of ballooning out because it's so bright that the camera is making it look kind of not crisp, but that's just because it's so bright. As we go down, we can see it gets really crisp around this area, and then we can go all the way down to where you can't even see it on the camera. So 10 settings, very nice, very crisp. Also, it does show you here on the side, if I can show you, but since we got this manually focused, it's a 3 MOA dot and a 50 MOA circle. So that is the size of the reticle itself, just so you know, and that kind of gives you a little bit more kind of information on what it looks like. Let me go through those options again. I went through all the brightness settings earlier. So there's your circle dot, there's your dot, and there's your circle only. So that's your 3 options. Very nice, very crisp. You know, just looks really good to the eye. The glass is very clear. You can actually see this in the video, I think. And yeah, I hope that gives you some added kind of perspective on this as well. All right, we'll show you some more things in the next clip. Alright guys, I wanted to show you real quick that this is what your backup sights look like. They're really nice and bright. Some people, you know, may really like these fibers, and some people may prefer the blacked out. But, you know, for a lot of people, they're going to like this, that it's really bright if you go to the backups. They did contrast the backups with the color of the reticle. That way, you know, if you're looking for green, this won't stick out to you. So that's kind of a smart move by them. We showed in that last clip that it is 3 MOA dot and a 50 MOA circle, just if you're wanting to know the size of that as well. Another thing I wanted to show you guys is how this visor that sticks out a little bit further than most red dots actually is there to protect the glass from being damaged as easily. It adds more surface area to the top so for drops, and it's also angled up, I guess, to add more strength to the top of the optic. We showed you earlier how I hit this with a rubber mallet and it did not break the glass, and I was hitting it pretty hard to simulate kind of, I guess, more normal drops on this optic. So I kind of want to show you that it is pretty tough and it holds up pretty well. This visor also prevents more, I guess, reflections from sunlight, so it kind of shades the front of the glass so you don't get all those kind of strange lighting through the lens and get all that reflection. So that also helps quite a bit from UV protection when you're trying to sight in or find your target, find your reticle during a bright day. So that's pretty helpful as well. All right, guys, I wanted to show you real quick a little bit more up close. This is a 21 millimeter Picatinny rail mounting plate so that you can add the optic to a rifle or whatever, more kind of low mount to anything. It gives you another option, so that's pretty cool. And I also wanted to show you up close this RMR mounting plate. So this is a Dr. Footprint red dot, as you can see, and this is a Doctor on the top, but then it has the RMR to line up with that just slightly raises the dot a little bit, so you can use it with any RMR cut pistol or rifle or whatever, or mounting solution. So that works really well as well. All right, guys, I did not want to fail to mention that this dot is IPX7 waterproof rated, and it's also shockproof up to 1500 Gs. So very tough in the sense of the cycling, worrying about the cycling of any kind of pistol or whatever. This is built to withstand those speeds and G-forces placed onto the optic itself. So that's pretty cool as well. We also want to make sure that we show up close. This is a top mounted battery. There's no reason, there's nothing that can get in the bottom here. You don't have to mess with the underside of the optic at any time once it's mounted. You can easily change the battery from the top, and this battery is rated to 50,000 hours, which is basically the standard for your high-end dots. So it's on par with those other high-end dots. So you're not going to lose anything by purchasing a dot like this. You actually get everything that most of them other expensive dots will give you when it comes to the battery life. So I hope that helps as well.